Hello people of YouTube, it's once again the Great James, and welcome to Fantasy Archetype Reviews. For those of you who are new to it, this is a series in which I look at an archetype made by the fandom, mainly from the comments section, and see if this archetype could exist if it was actually brought into the game. This archetype is brought to us by Sean Largest, and if you have your own fantasy archetype, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And well, this archetype is brought to us again by Sean Largest. I probably said that already, but if I'm repeating myself, tough. Anyway, this archetype is one that, well, it's an archetype that's a direct counter to, it's a card you've probably never heard of it before. It's some instant win card that takes 5 pieces, and it grants a duelist instant win. You probably never heard of it before. I'll let Yugi explain the kind of thing it is.
Your little plan is not as foolproof as you think. Sangha of Thunder is one of 3 gods that control thunder, wind, and water. The remaining 2 cards are Suijin, god of water, and Kazijin, god of wind.
No, the Trinity. It's in the class of Exodia.
Oh yeah, that's right, Exodia. I'm sure no one remembers him. Anyway, this archetype is meant to directly counter Exodia. Yes, an archetype described mainly to counter one specific type of monster, and pretty much nothing else. That's always a great sign. Ally of Justice. Anyway, but you know what? Not all art, just because you have to counter one specific archetype doesn't mean you can't also brat and show to others. Heck, X-Crawlers, for example. But you know what? I'm just sitting here shooting the shit because I don't know what to say next. But you know what? Let's get into it. So first we have Labyrinth Tamer. It is a warrior effect 5-star earth monster with 1800 attack and 1600 defense. And its effect reads, this is a long one here, so get ready. When this card is summoned, add a Labyrinth monster from your GY or deck to your hand. And if Labyrinth Gate is on the field, draw 1 card, then reveal it. If it was Sangha of the Thunder, Kaizijin, or Suijin, then special summon it. While you control another monster, this card cannot be targeted by card effects and attacks. Or attacks. All Labyrinth monsters you control except this card gain 200 attack and defense. When this card leaves the field, add a level 11 Guardian monster from your deck to your hand. Each time your opponent draws a card or adds cards from their hand by card effect, they must reveal the card, and you get to add level 1 monsters among them from their hand to your own hand. So that's a long effect. Sad thing is that they're not exactly going to get shorter. Well, some are kind of actually rather short, but anyway, let's go one by one here. When this card is summoned, add a Labyrinth monster from your deck or GY to your hand. Okay, that's a good start from the go considering this is a level 5 monster, so it needs a tribute, so odds are you're going to be tributing a Labyrinth monster and then immediately getting it right back. Or if you somehow, I don't know, play costs down and get it out there, you're immediately getting a search. Or if you don't care about that card, you sacrifice to the graveyard. And if the field spelled Labyrinth Gate, we'll get into that when we get to the spell cards. It'll not be able, you get to draw a card, and if it was Sangha, Kaizijin, or Suijin, you get to special summon it, but you have to reveal it, but not like that's at costs. And the other effect, while you control another monster specifically, not just Labyrinth, and your opponent can't target this card by card effects or attacks. Granted, Raigeki's still an option, but you know. All Labyrinth monsters you control except this card gain 200 attack and defense. It's a mediocre boost, but hey, sometimes it can help you in a clutch, you know? When this card leaves the field, add a level 11 Guardian monster from your deck to your hand. I don't need to explain who you're searching. Each time your opponent draws a card or cards from their hand by card effect, like Pot of Greed, ignore the fact that that's banned. Let's pretend it's GOAT format. And they must reveal the cards, and you get to add a level 1 monster among them from your hand to your own. Yeah, you literally, yes, if they draw, like, I don't know, Left Arm of the Forbidden One, you literally get to take that card from them and put it in your own hand. So, yeah, or if you, well, I guess if you really want, you get to add level 1. Oh, yeah, so if they draw, like, let's say they do use Pot of Greed, just ignore the fact that it is banned. They use it and they draw left arm and right leg, let's just say. They can, since this card's on the field, they have to reveal them both to you and then give them to you. So in other words, except for the head of Exodia, you're getting the Exodia pieces, meaning you're getting the win condition. all you need to do is run exchange, and then boom, you just Exodia'd the Exodia player. That gives me reason to want to run this card instantly, even though Exodia is basically dead nowadays. But hey, you know, first card, it takes a tribute, but you get so many more effects out of it, I can't help but think, you know, running at 1 or 2, you know. It is a tribute, but it makes it worth your while. Oh yeah. Next one. Proto-Labyrinth Tank. I stole this one straight out of Bioshock 2. By the way, the Labyrinth Tamer, the Balrog from Lord of the Rings. Apparently it's a poster art of it, but whatever. The Proto-Labyrinth Tank is a machine effect dark level 3 monster with 1200 attack and 1200 defense. Its effect reads, when a Labyrinth monster attacks your opponent, your opponent cannot activate card effects until the end of the damage step, so it's an ancient gear. Once per turn, you can inflict 500 damage to your opponent, and for the rest of the turn, your opponent cannot activate cards from their hand. Fuck you, hand traps. When this card leaves the field, special summon from the extra deck Labyrinth Tank. And if this, which is good considering it doesn't even need it ignoring the summoning condition, considering Labyrinth Tank doesn't have the whole clause, so yeah. So basically, if your opponent runs this thing over like, I don't know, Gazelle, you get a monster, so yeah. And it gains this effect, so you're giving the fusion monster the effect. This card cannot be destroyed by battle, and any damage that you take involving this card is also inflicted to your opponent. That is an effect I really like, considering, well, if your opponent attacks this thing with blue eyes, or if you ram into it with, or if you ram the Labyrinth into blue eyes, they're taking the damage, and your monster isn't destroyed. It's an Amazon Swordswoman with a built-in protection. Proto-Labyrinth Tank here is an immediate 3-of just by the complete standards of, well, consider it this way, folks. It's an instant to summon monster. It's an instant to summon monster that's an ancient gear. It shuts down hand traps, not to mention during the effect if you run over like Sangan or something. They also can't activate Exodia's effect should they add the last piece they needed, the Forbidden One, so that's that. And when this card leaves the field, by any means, you get a free monster of it. Granted, you're probably, if you are running it, you're probably only running one Labyrinth Tank, considering you don't really want to clog up your 15-card extra deck with a generic vanilla monster. But I guess you could run Instant Fusion if you were desperate. Plus, it also gets a good effect of basically being an Amazon Swordswoman with built-in protection. So yeah, Proto-Labyrinth Tank, I'd say 2 or 3, but that's my personal preference. Next card is Hungry Labyrinth Worm. This thing doesn't have any, like, thing that I know of. So, yeah. Hungry Labyrinth Worm is a level 5 Earth insect effect monster with 1800 attack and 1600 defense. No, 1500 defense. My bad. I can't read. Anyway, when this card is summoned, you can add a Labyrinth spell or trap from your deck to your hand. While Labyrinth Gate is on the field, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect. So there's 2 built-in protections right there. And not to mention the fact that when you do summon it, you could search the field spell if you wanted to so badly, considering you can get it right from the deck. It's a built-in terraforming if need be. Plus, considering you're probably searching out the field spell, you can then activate and then make this thing immune to everything as long as the field spell's on the field. If this card attacks or is attacked by a level 10 monster who is currently unaffected by other effects, very oddly specific, make this card's attack become equal to that monster's current attack. Until the end of the damage step. That's very oddly specific. There's only one monster that I can think of that could probably have felt that niche, and it's a certain blue card that it's Obelisk. I'm trying to describe it generically, but I can't. It's Obelisk. I guess you could really probably do something against rank 10 trains if it wasn't for the fact that they're rank 10 trains, not level 10 trains. Well, anyway, when this card leaves the field, you can add a level 11 Guardian monster from your GY to your hand. So yeah, I guess if you wanted to, I guess if the Guardian got run over somehow, you could immediately get it back, or I guess if you maybe send it to the graveyard for cost for some spell card that needed cost, it has a. If it somehow gets in the graveyard, I guess if you fool the shit, that's probably the quickest way I could think of. Anyway, a Hungry Labyrinth Worm, it is a tribute monster, so there's that as a neg, but when you think of it this way, the fact that you're getting so much out of it, considering the fact that even if you are negging one monster on the field, you're getting a card from your deck instantly, so it replaces itself. So, Hungry Labyrinth Worm here, I would say 1 or 2. I favor more one considering, again, since you're running all these Gate Guardian cards, which are level 11 and level 7s and level 5s. This is really not good in hindsight. So if you really want to run the card, 1, I'd say, is the maximum. But that's just me. Next we can go on to Giant Labyrinth Spider, and I'm going to spoil something real quick. This is the only card I think that there's an actual downgrade from its actual form. Oh, by the way, the artwork's taken from Dungeons & Dragons. So yeah. It is an Earth level 4 insect effect monster with 2200 attack and 100 defense. Spec reads, this card cannot attack directly. Any damage this card inflicts to your opponent is halved. I have 2 names right from the get-go. What is this, Sousa Soldier? When this card destroys a monster by battle, add to your hand from your deck a level 6 or 7 monster that lists Song of the Thunder or Suijin or Kaijin in its card text. That will be explained shortly, don't worry. We'll be getting into them in about 2 cards. Well, 1 more card after this. Anyway, when your opponent activates an effect that would allow them to win the duel, flip a coin before it resolves. Heads, negate and banish that card. And only specifically that card, which means you're only losing 1 of the 4 Exodia, 1 of the 5 Exodia pieces. You lose the match. Again, this is the only one I think of as an actual downgrade from the actual form, because I get the intention here. I really do. It's supposed to really, like, shut down Exodia and be like, okay, Exodia, now you can't do jack, except Exodia decks can have an out to this. It's called a combination of Burial from a Different Dimension and Monster Reincarnation. It takes an extra couple cards, but it can still get the job done. I see the intention here. I can see the force of choosing where he's going for here, because your heads, you shut down the entire Exodia deck's engine, but they still have ways around it. Not to mention you could just, not to mention they could just use, what is it called? Breakthrough Skill or Effect Veil if they really need to. So, yeah, how about that? Although then again, that kind of gets rid of the, you know what I'm trying to say here. The only good thing I can think about is that it searches, but it has to destroy a monster by battle first, so yeah. It's a level 4 monster considering the deck's that although granted it is a level 4 monster that has a bunch of level 5s and level 7s and level 11s in the deck, so I guess if you wanted to have in the deck solely because it is a quick to summon tribute monster, you could run it for that reason, but me, I would run Jirai Gumo before this card, because at least Jirai Gumo has a chance of having your life points. Jirai Gumo might have your life points, but I think if there's one thing Yu-Gi-Oh! Has taught me recently, life points really don't matter. They really don't. People will pay half their life points turn 1 for Solemn Judgment if it means shutting down that 1 card. So yeah. Giant Labyrinth Spider, you're a card. Well, you're not a card because you don't exist, but you know what I mean. You are indeed a card. Next card. Labyrinth Shadow. I'm not stealing from anything, I don't think. Ignore that little thing at the bottom. Bite me. It's a level 5 Dark Attribute Warrior Effect monster with 1500 attack and 2000 defense. Anyone remember Wall Shadow? It's that. Okay. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand or GY while Labyrinth Gate or Labyrinth Wall is on the field. We'll get into that, but banish it when it leaves the field. Wall Shadow is on the field. Both this and that card, or its original attack, become 3000. You are not running Shadow Ghoul in this fucking. You are not running Wall Shadow in this fucking deck because that requires you to run Shadow Ghoul, which is a level 5 or 6 monster off the top of my head. That again is another tribute in a tribute heavy deck, and then you need to run the freaking equip spell that goes with it, Magical Labyrinth, I believe it is, just to special summon this bloody thing. And even then, I think it has to be from the hand. It's just like, this thing is far too much effort for what it's trying to do. I guess with the entire version of the deck, probably that version of the deck would be simply to do that. That would be fine, but anyway, you know what? That's 1 card. Maybe the other effect will make up for it, you know? While this card's in the field, you get to select what monster your opponent attacks. Patrician of Darkness, anyone? When this card leaves the field, special summon Wall Shadow from your hand, deck, a GY, or Banish Zone, ignoring its summoning conditions. I guess that could theoretically give you a reason to run a Wall Shadow, considering you can literally special it from literally anywhere, but that also requires you to run Wall Shadow, so yeah. Gift and a curse. I mean, I guess you can make it an Allure of Darkness target, but who's running Allure of Darkness when Pop Desires is out? So, I don't know. It's a level 5 monster and a level 5 happy deck, so it's not really considerate. And the only thing you get out of it is you get to select the monster your opponent attacks, and it's just like, if you wanted to run it, I guess you could run it at 1, but I would not run this card. I probably wouldn't run Giant Labyrinth Spider before this. I don't know. That's just me. But hey, it's a fan card. It's not like Konami's making the cards themselves. So, you know, there's much more acceptable room for error. Because let's face it, if Konami made a card like this, we'd be a lot like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Oh wait, they did make the original Wall Shadow. Well, that was in a slower format time, so we can kind of give them a pass on that one, I think. Anyway, let's move on to the next card, considering that's what everyone's saying. Get on with it. Now they have the counterparts of the Gate Guardian. Do you guys remember the new Magnet Warriors report? And how we got, like, the electromagnetic warriors? Think of them as this. Or think of this as them. Or they're the counterpoints to the original, Gate Guardian pieces. This is the counter to Sangha of the Thunder. And the picture is obviously Attack on Titan, Levi versus Colossal Titan at night. So yeah, Pa the Uprising Darkness is a level 7 Dark Attribute Fiend effect monster with 2500 attack and 2500 defense. Its effect reads, this card is always treated as a Labyrinth card. Once per turn, you can destroy one spell or trap on the field, then draw one card. That's actually pretty good considering it's an MST with a +1 right off the get-go. So, not bad. When this card battles with a... When this card I'm sorry. Take 3. When this card battles with a monster that had... When this card battles with a monster and that monster is not destroyed, make that monster's attack and defense 0, even if this card leaves the field. I'm sorry I had to read it like that, but I literally could not say it any other way. When this card leaves the field, add from your deck Sangha of the Thunder to your hand. So yeah, no, I'm not going to keep talking like that, which I hope not. So, okay. When this thing just attacks... when this thing battles his opponent's monster, just battle in general. It doesn't have to win, although that would help. Although granted the so you could like ram this thing into a... I hate, always having to go back to him, but Blue Eyes. Pa's probably not going to win it the same unless you ram him up with a bunch of equipped spells on the chest. So even if that thing isn't destroyed, you're still making its attack and defense 0. I'm reminded of the Blackwing, one of my most hated cards, Blackwing Armor Master. It's not because the card is bad, let me get that straight right there. I just don't like the fact that I can't kill it by battle, considering I faced that card when I was still early in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I was just like, how the fuck do I kill this thing? It's like the equivalent, it's like when you run into Marshmallow or Spirit Reaper for the first time, it's just like, well now what do I do? I basically lost. Oh god. But now after this side written is done. Not to mention this thing leaves the field in any way, even if it gets somehow shuffled back in the deck. Don't ask me how that works. You immediately get to search out of Sangha. So, Pa, you're a level 7 monster, but I'd still say run you at 1 just because you are helpful. But next we have the opposite to Kazijin. It is, once I can find it. Ra, the Midway Stone Belly. As soon as it loads, there we go. Level 6, this is why it was 6 or 7, Earth Attribute Rock Effect Monster with 2000 attack and 2800 defense. Shield and Sword, motherfucker. This card is always treated as a Labyrinth card. Once per turn, you can destroy one monster on the field, then add a card from your deck to your hand. Excuse me. You get to destroy any monster on the field. It can even be your own if need be. And then you can literally search any card from your deck to your hand. Not any Labyrinth card. Any card. I assume he meant any Labyrinth card. that's an assumption. Meaning, since we've used this example earlier, I will now pop your Summon Skull and add a Pot of Greed. And no, I don't mean to keep using all these original series references. I wish I could go to literally anything else, but for some reason this is just my easiest one to go to in my head. So we're broken from the get-go, and it's a level 6 monster, so it only needs 1 tribute. When this card battles a monster and that monster is not destroyed, make that monster's attack and defense 0 if this card leaves the field. Yeah, it's Pa again, but hey, you know what? It's not a bad effect, to be fair. When this card leaves the field, add from your deck to your hand, and Kazijin, of course. So yeah, the last 2 effects are the same as Pa, and you can guess what the third one has is one of its 2 of its effects. But you know, it's not a bad card overall. Just the fact that frickin' you can add any card from your deck to your hand is broken enough as it is. So if it's for that reason alone, you run. I was have to say 3, but it's a level 6 monster that. Well, actually. This card also doesn't establish that you need to have the field spell on the field. So this thing could be running really any deck. Considering the fact that it's so generic. I mean, the only cost of this thing is that it's always treated as a Labyrinth card, but that's not a cost. That's just something that happens to be the case. Wait, this card is always treated as a Labyrinth card. Are we going to have another Harpy Lady situation where they can't run more than 3 of the deck because they're always counted as Harpy Lady? God, I hope not. But these cards don't exist, so we don't have to worry about that. Oh my god, I just realized the pun with these things. Yeah, when I was writing them down, I didn't get the point, but I do remember now. This is Dox, the down-bringing light, and I'm going to explain the pun right now. First monster we did, Pa. Second monster, Ra. This monster, Dox. Paradox. Paradox, the down-bringing light. Level 6 light attribute fiend effect monster. Don't ask me why it's a fiend. With 2100 attack and 2400 defense. Ignore the light borders around it. This is admittedly Helios, but bite me. So, yeah, Helios the Greek god. How ironic that the Greek gods are just with the Guardian. Well, not ironic, but let me read the card. This card is always treated as a Labyrinth card. Whatever. Once per turn, you can banish 1 card from your opponent's GY. Then your opponent shows the top 3 cards of their deck. Then add at level 1 and 10 monsters among them to your hand. Why? I mean, I'm not arguing the level 1 part, I'm arguing the level 10 part. Exodia Necros, baby? Exodius? Oh wait, it must be Exodius, the ultimate forbidden lord. Actually, he's a level 10 monster, so that actually does make sense now I think about it. That's why the whole thing with the freaking... Who plays Exodius except for rank 10 trains? Whatever, it's a concept. And let's move on with the more effects. Yes, I can English good. When this card battles an opponent's monster, you know the stat change effect. And of course, when it leaves the field, Suijin comes to your hand. So, yeah. And let's just go with its original effect to start off. You can banish a card from your opponent's GEY, and then your opponent shows the top 3 cards of their deck. And I assume they can't see it. I'm always kind of confused by this ruling, but you know, that's just me. And if you have, then you have to add a level 10, 1, and 10 monster among them to your hand. But here's my bit of a thing with it. I'm not sure how the ruling is because I'm a bit of a scrub. So, since it doesn't say and or, I assume you can't add either. And who's running Exodius and Exodia nowadays? So that would mean you would be missing out on an Exodia piece. But I'm going to just give them the benefit of the doubt, and it means you can add it, considering, well, that would make the most amount of sense. So, you know, Dogs, you are probably the most specific out of all of them, but if you're running the 3 brothers, you could run them at 1. Plus, obviously, you're going to get the pain. You know, I summon Pa, then I summon Ra, then I summon Dox, and the opponent just goes, wait a minute, I got it. It'd basically be me. But anyway, we have the last main deck monster of the deck. Hi guys, sorry for that little interruption, just a little background thing. Nothing to worry about though, but let's get right back into it immediately. First, now we have the last monster in the main deck, and that is Labyrinth Guardian. Yes, it's Zork, bite me. He's a Guardian monster now because I said so. Anyway, it's a level 11 light attribute warrior effect monster with 3450 attack and 3700 defense. Can I just mention the fact that I like the added detail of them having the 3450 attack? I don't know why, I just instantly like that just because the Gate Guardian's attack points were so random. But anyway, let's get into the actual card itself. Let me just read it from here. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Can only be special summoned by attributing Pa, the Uprising Darkness, Ra, the Midway Stone Belly, and Dox, the Down Bringing Light. Cannot be targeted by card effect once per turn during another player's turn. When a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated, negate the effect and banish it. When this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, special summon Gate Guardian, the original, from your deck or graveyard, ignoring its summoning conditions. Okay. Let's start with what this card actually has going against it, because there is actually one thing going against it. They still kept up the little factoid thing of the fact it needs 3 monsters to sacrifice. So in other words, it's basically an Egyptian god that's specific to 3 monsters. Not to mention those monsters need tributes and sorry. If it was like a bit more like a Magnet Warrior, where just the whole you can even use the cards in your hand, I'd be more forgiving to it. But it's the fact that they still all need to be on the field, just like, I know why that is, where it's like, it's because of the original Guardian, but just like, I feel like over the years of how Yu-Gi-Oh! Has evolved, you could have just taken that part out, you know? But, the other effects aren't bad. It can't be targeted, Raigeki, once per turn, and you can negate any card and banish it. So, yeah. That's not bad. And if it's destroyed by battle, you get a free beat stick. So, it's not like you're walking away with nothing. Just Labyrinth Guardian just be as... if you're going to run, I'd say run it at 1. But, don't worry, will be an extra deck monster to help along. The extra deck, yeah. If you're worried about the time length, don't worry. There are 4 spells and 2 traps. So, we're almost done, folks. But the first spell is the one I've been hinting at the entire time. And that is... Once it wants to load. Any day now. Gotta hate card maker sometimes. Anyway, Labyrinth Gate. Field spell. Labyrinth monsters gain 400 attack and defense. You cannot normal summon Labyrinth monsters... No, wait. Let me try that again. You can normal summon Labyrinth monsters or Sanga the Thunder, Suijin, and Kazijin without tribute. This immediately fixes up everything I just said about the freaking level 7s in a basic nutshell. No. Level 11 Guardian monsters you control are not affected by other card effects. In other words, fuck you, Raigeki. When this card leaves the field, special summon a wall token, which is what I was getting at earlier. Earth Rock, level 5, attack 0, defense 3000, in defense position. I like how that's a little shout out to Labyrinth Wall than Vanilla Monster. So, yeah, this thing does quite a bit. Its attack point is boost. Its attack and defense boost is meh, but that's okay. Meh is okay by today's standards, let's face it. You don't need a tribute for any of the level 6 and 7, so that's immediately good. Sorry. Level 11 monsters have instant... Level 11 monsters don't gotta worry about their shit being destroyed by a Raigeki or a Mirror Force or any of that crap. And not to mention if your opponent does MST it, or if you MST your own card, you get a free monster of it. So, this card is really freaking good. And, well, that's all I got to say about Labyrinth Gate. Run free of this card that does not exist because none of these cards exist because we're reading about an Archetype that doesn't exist in real life. Next card. Gate Destruction. Quick play spell card. Activate only if Labyrinth Gate and Gate Guardian is on the field. Very specific from the get-go. This thing better have a busted as fuck effect to make up for that. Destroy all field spells on the field. You're destroying your own cards, but you get a Labyrinth token, so... That's awkward. Not now, Alex. Then banish all of your opponent's monsters on their field and hand. Gate Guardian cannot attack directly this turn. Fuck you, cost. Gas Emperor Dragon minus the burn and your cost. Ay, 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 ay. Oh. I don't know why I'm so tired. Oh wait, that's right, it's 11 at night. What am I saying? Okay, so this thing has the cost of, granted, you have to have the 3 Guardian monsters on the field. That is a rather steep cost for activation, and one could say it's not worth it. In which case, you don't have to run any of these cards. It's entirely up to you. In fact, none of you can run these cards because they don't exist. But in return for using it, you banish all of your opponent's shit except the graveyard. But they had to have something to balance this thing out. Oh yeah, Gate Guardian can attack this turn. We have another Guardian monster. It's not like he can't attack. Oh no, the severe cost of one of my 2 monsters can't attack. Whatever shall I do? I'd say run 1 if you wanted to red, just because it can be a brick. Come on, James, we only got a couple more cards to go. Next card, and then you're going to find out why the Labyrinth Guardian was a fucking Zork of all things. Because I wanted to use this picture and this picture specifically. Clash with the Forbidden One. The one, and for those of you who can't see it, it's Zork clashing against Exodia. This is the sole reason I wanted Zork to be the Guardian monster, because I wanted to use this picture alone, because it fits perfectly. Continuous spell card. Gains effects equal to the number of Labyrinth cards you control. 1 or more. Labyrinth card effects cannot be negated. 2 or more. When your opponent draws a card during the draw phase, they must reveal the card. 3 or more. Labyrinth monsters can inflict piercing damage to your opponent. 4 or more. Win and duel effects cannot be activated. 5 or more. Your opponent cannot draw cards except during the draw phase. So yeah, it's rather damn good considering, well, 1, your you have to have a Labyrinth card in the field, which granted, Clash doesn't count as 1 considering it doesn't say it counts as 1, so yeah. But you can still like build it up over time, or lose it over time, to be fair. But even by having 1 monster in the field, your Labyrinth cards can't be touched. 2 or more, or if the opponent draws a card, you get to check that shit out. Just like just so nothing catches you off guard. 3 or more, or you can do piercing damage, which it's okay, you know. Most of the searchers like Sangha and Witch of the Black Forest don't have a lot of defense anyway, so it's more like just like make your beaters bigger beaters, I guess. 4 or more, their opponent just can't straight up use Exodia. 5 or more, your opponent just straight up can't use any of their draw cards, which is a good chunk of the Exodia deck. So, yeah. Granted, they could still like Toon Table contents, but no one uses that anymore, despite the fact we can't use up Circle anymore. We'll just run in Toon Table contents and then a random Toon card. That gives you a 35 card deck. Anyway, Clash with the Forbidden One. It's really dang good. Situational in some of the effects, to be fair, but it reminds me of Ancient City Rainbow Ruins. It's situational as fuck, but if you can get up those situational effects, it's good. So, yeah. It's entirely up to you how many you want to run. I'd run probably 1. Don't know about you. But the last spell card, Escape from the Labyrinth, is a generic spell card. Return a level 5 or lower Labyrinth monster you control, not now, Dobbs, to the hand. Then special summon from your deck Sangha of the Thunder or Suijin or Kazijin. You can manage this card to reveal a, I assume, because there's no A there, level 6 or 7 Labyrinth monster. Oh wait, it wasn't. Reveal level 6 or 7 Labyrinth monsters, and your opponent must discard cards equal to the number you revealed. Oh shit. Okay, first effect. If you have Labyrinth Tamer, let's just go with, you can just add it back to your hand, and then special summon Sangha, Suijin, or Kazijin, and just it from your deck. So, instant level 7. Not bad. And that's instantly add effect of you can banish it from the graveyard, and depending on how many 6 or 7s are in your hand, and considering the fact that you're running 6 or 7 monsters, and it's mostly, this deck is somewhat mostly bricks, odds are you're going to have a few in your hand. So, at least your opponent's going to have to discard a few cards with you. Granted, none of the graveyard effects mean anything, but you know what I mean. Anyway, Escape from the Labyrinth is very specific, but I think it's worthy of running at least 1 of, just because it is useful and how generic it is, kind of. But yeah, that's my thought of it. But anyway, we only have 3 cards to go, 2 traps and an extra deck. The first trap card is called Wrong Turn in the Labyrinth. Yeah, it's the best picture I can come up with, bite me. For generic trap, when a Labyrinth monster is destroyed by battle or card effect, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half of its original attack. Then special summon a level 5 or lower Labyrinth monster from your deck. That is a mouthful. But basically, if your Labyrinth monster gets run over, not likely to happen if you're fighting Exodia, but I guess this is more generic support. Or card effect, Raigeki. You get to inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its original attack. Generic burn, but it could help. And then you get a free level 5 or lower Labyrinth monster from your deck. So, you know, it replaces the card you just lost. It does a little burns. It's a recovery card. I'd say maybe like 1, 2, 3 at the most, you know. That's just me, though. But we have the last trap card. Forbidden Seal of the Labyrinth. Yeah, I had to use a generic pentagram, bite me. Continuous trap. While you control a level 6 or 7 Labyrinth monster or level 11 Guardian monsters, that's a lot of freaking specifics. Your opponent cannot activate cards that activate from the hand. Fuck you, hand traps completely. When a level 11 Guardian monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect, banish this card instead. It kind of reminds me of the second effect of Return of the Dragon Lords, but hey, you know, that's not bad. It's a good graveyard effect. But this card's pretty damn good considering the fact that just by the sheer fact that you control a level 6 or 7 or 11 monster, well, I know it has to be specific with Labyrinth or Guardian monster, but bite me. Your opponent just straight up, it just basically says, hey, that's a nice hand. Hello, Ghost Ogre. Fuck you. Well, to be fair, Ghost Ogre probably could still active. You know what I mean? This thing shuts down hand traps, and that's always a plus. So, yeah. Not to mention, it's got the Return of the Dragon Lord's survival effect, so that's not bad. I'd say run 1, 2, that sort of stuff, but that's just me personally. You're running a bunch of level 5, 7, and 11, so to be honest, in this sort of thing, do you really need a trap card? It better be like a solemn card. You're going to be running a trap card. That's just me, though. But finally, we have the last card, the Extra Deck Monster. And it is a fusion, of course. I have to open it again because this is just how Cardmaker works sometimes. Perfect Paradox Guardian. And it is from Shadow of the Colossus, Malus or M-A-L-U-S, however you pronounce it. I made Ultimate Rare because it's the freaking god. It is described as a level 12, but is actually a level 13. It's a Warrior Fusion Effect Monster, level 13, Divine, 5150 attack, and 5150 defense. Fuck you, Five-Headed Dragon. And yes, you could come back to me and say, oh, but only light monsters can destroy Five-Headed Dragon. No, Five-Headed Dragon's effect says, cannot be destroyed by fire, dark, earth, water, and wind monsters. You know, that does leave out light monsters, granted, but you know what else it leaves out? Divine. So this card can kill Five-Headed Dragon. But let's actually go over the card in and of itself, because it's a long line of text. Gate Guardian plus Labyrinth Guardian. Were you really surprised? Must be fusion summoned by banishing the above materials on the field. Oh great, a contact fusion. Just what the world needed. More of them. Unaffected by other card effects, even your own, which means you can't even help this thing. Cannot be attributed or used as material for a monster that special summons from the extra deck. So it shuts down kaijus from being summoned, but also shuts down you making a link monster. I want to use this thing to make a link spider now, just to have the sheer audacity. Too bad I can't. If win the duel effect is activated, change it to you lose the match. And for those of you who don't know, in tournaments you play best of 2 out of 3 matches. So your opponent tries to use an Exodia effect, they just lost completely. And you want to see any of the end the match cards? This is basically that. When this card is destroyed by battle, somehow, I guess you load up with an opponent's monster with a bunch of mage powers. You can special summon Gate Guardian and Labyrinth Guardian from your banished zone, ignoring the summoning conditions. Wait a minute. No, it does say to be summoned by banishing the above materials on the field. Okay, I was just back to that, just like, wait, how do they get in the banish pile? I just had to check that little point there. So yeah, it's just, let's go over the effect little by little. Not that I haven't already, but still, you know what I mean. It's unaffected by everything, including your own shit. You can't use it. Your opponent can't kaiju it, but you can't link spider it, which is very disappointing. I need to link spider all of the cards. It cannot be. Oh, wait, I already read that part. If win the duel effect is activated, you win the match, which, to be fair, if you're playing with your friends, probably will never come up, because if they are playing Exodia, there are no matches. But I guess you could just take that as you win the duel, but you know what I mean. And this card is somehow being over, because God forbid, just because, why not? I guess considering the fact that's the only way you could kill it reasonably. You get 2 free monsters of the field, which is again set up in order to activate go into the spell card, clash with the Forbidden One as gate destruction, my mistake. So yeah, that's set up for that, and really, just all I have to say is this is just a great big climactic end to a long string of monsters. To me, this is probably one of the shortest archetypes I've ever done, and it's still one of my longer videos. How the fuck does that happen? Anyway. Perfect Paradox Guardian. You end this deck on a bang, not a whimper. So yeah, 5150 attack. That's so oddly specific. I'm looking at all the OCD people just be like, why couldn't it be 5200? God damn it. Or 5100. Ugh. But again, you end this series on a bang, not a whimper. So yeah, that has been the Labyrinth archetype. So yeah, if you have any of your own little fantasy archetypes, let me know in the comments below. And with all that said, this is the Great James signing off. Bye.